Yo, Taylor, I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time.
We all know that fame can sometimes bring out the best in people, but for some celebrities, it seems to have the opposite effect. In this list, we're diving into the world of Hollywood's most notorious divas and bad boys, the celebrities who made headlines not for their talent, but for their shockingly rude and downright awful behavior. From public meltdowns to outrageous demands, these stars prove that being famous doesn't always come with good manners. And trust us, the number one on our list, well, let's just say they're the poster child for being a complete jerk. Bruce Willis, action star, wisecracking hero, and Hollywood legend. From Die Hard to Armageddon and The Sixth Sense, Willis has cemented his place as one of the biggest action stars of all time. But while he often plays the charming everyman on screen, the real Bruce Willis doesn't always live up to that persona. Despite his booming success in films that have grossed over $3 billion in North America, along with a few music albums under his belt, Willis has made headlines for his less-than-friendly behavior. During a 1996 visit to an Atlanta restaurant with then-wife Demi Moore, Willis reportedly exploded in anger at two 10-year-old boys who had simply smiled and pointed at him from across the room. The superstar, it seems, had little patience for being recognized, especially by young, innocent fans. This side of Willis is a far cry from the cheeky, relatable characters he's known for in films, and it's a disappointing revelation for fans who adored his on-screen charm. But behind the tough guy image and smirking grin, some stories show a much darker side of Hollywood's iconic leading man. Rachael Ray, Food TV's bubbly queen, known for her infectious catchphrases like "Yum-O" and her 30-minute meals that turned her into a household name. With her long-running talk show, cookbooks, and even her own magazine, Ray has built a food empire that reaches millions. But behind the smile and perky persona on screen, some who've seen her in person have a very different take on the culinary star. Starting out teaching cooking classes at a gourmet market in New York, Ray quickly became a media sensation after launching her 30-minute meals concept. Her rise to fame took her to the Food Network in 2001, and by 2006, she expanded into daytime television with The Rachael Ray Show. Her approachable style made her a fan favorite with home cooks everywhere. But behind the scenes, some fans have reported a different Rachael. One former audience member described Ray as cold and annoyed during a taping, claiming she greeted the crowd with eye rolls and complaints, a stark contrast to the cheerful, down-to-earth image she projects on TV. It's a surprising contrast to the sunny, energetic host we all know and love, leaving fans to wonder if the camera-ready warmth is just part of her on-air act. Jared Leto, Oscar-winning actor, frontman of 30 Seconds to Mars, and known for his eccentric public persona, has captivated audiences with his wild film transformations and bold fashion choices. From Dallas Buyers Club to Suicide Squad, Leto is famous for his intense immersion into roles, sometimes at the expense of those around him. But behind the flamboyant image lies a side of Leto that has left fans questioning his real character. Leto's career began in the 90s with the teen drama My So-Called Life, but he quickly moved on to films, becoming one of Hollywood's most chameleonic actors. He's known for drastically changing his appearance for roles and using a method acting approach that has even involved terrorizing his Suicide Squad castmates while playing the Joker. However, his behavior off-screen has been less than charming. At a 2011 show in Brazil, Leto reportedly flipped off a fan for not knowing all the words to his band's songs. While Leto's commitment to his craft is undeniable, his apparent lack of basic courtesy leaves a sour taste for some. It's clear that while he might give his all in his performances, kindness isn't always part of the package. Joan Crawford, Hollywood royalty with cheekbones sharp enough to cut glass and an ego to match. She ruled the silver screen in the 30s and 40s, earning an Oscar for Mildred Pierce and cementing her status as one of the era's most commanding leading ladies. But behind the sequined gowns and smoldering stares, a legendary diva whose ambition burned brighter than any spotlight. Crawford's feud with Bette Davis was the stuff of Hollywood legend. Davis once dismissed her as a beauty with no talent, and Crawford spent years making sure she had the last word. On the set of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Crawford reportedly stuffed her costume with hidden weights, so Davis would throw out her back, dragging her across the floor. And when Davis was up for an Oscar that year, Crawford, not even nominated, personally lobbied Academy members to vote against her. Ruthless doesn't even begin to cover it. But Crawford's most infamous legacy came after her death, courtesy of her adopted daughter, Christina's tell-all memoir, Mommy Dearest. The book painted Crawford as a perfection-obsessed tyrant who turned motherhood into a battlefield. The wire hangers, the midnight cleaning sprees, the terrifying rages. Some claim Christina exaggerated, but the story stuck, transforming Crawford from Hollywood's grand dame into a chilling cautionary tale. Whether on screen or off, Joan Crawford was always playing for keeps, and God help anyone who got in her way. Jennifer Lopez, global superstar, style icon, and if the rumors are true, a full-fledged diva behind the scenes. From Selena to Hustlers, from chart-topping albums to high-profile romances, J.Lo has dominated the entertainment industry for decades. She made history in 2001 as the first woman to have a #1 album and movie in the same week, proving she's more than just a pretty face, she's a force. But while her on-stage persona screams fun and approachable, behind the velvet ropes, it's a different story. A resurfaced clip of Lopez casually spitting her gum into an assistant's hand sent the internet into a frenzy over her apparent disregard for basic manners. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Reports claim she has outrageous demands at events, like insisting on all-white decor and making staff walk backwards in her presence. Allegedly, she's even had servers fired for the crime of making eye contact. Former employees describe her as cold, detached, and difficult to please, hardly the Jenny from the block image she built her brand on. Whether it's all just exaggerated gossip or a glimpse into the reality of A-list entitlement, one thing's certain, Lopez runs her empire with the kind of precision that leaves no room for slip-ups or apparently direct eye contact. Robert Pattinson, reluctant heartthrob, indie darling, and the guy who somehow survived Twilight mania with his sanity intact. Cast as the brooding vampire Edward Cullen, he became an overnight sensation, with legions of twihards obsessing over his every move. But while the franchise made him a global superstar, Pattinson never exactly embraced the fandom that came with it. Before Twilight, Pattinson was just a British theater kid with a few screen credits, including a brief but memorable role in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Then came 5 vampire-fueled blockbusters from 2008 to 2012, catapulting him to a level of fame so intense, even he seemed baffled by it. And let's just say, he didn't hide his feelings well. In a 2013 interview, he openly questioned what twihards did all day, joking that they just sat online writing about the movies. Not exactly a love letter to the fans who made him a household name. Pattinson later admitted that he deliberately tried to alienate fans in an effort to regain some privacy, a move that, while understandable, still stung for those who had spent years idolizing him. Since then, he's moved on to artsier projects and The Batman, proving he's more than just a sparkly vampire. But for Twilight diehards, the memory of their former idol mocking their devotion still lingers. Adam Levine, the frontman of Maroon 5 and a coach on the hit singing competition The Voice, has achieved A-list status with his charming personality and good looks. Known for his rock star swagger, Levine has captivated millions of fans with his music and TV presence. However, behind the public persona, accusations have surfaced about his dismissive and rude behavior toward those very fans. Forming Maroon 5 in the 1990s, Levine and his band skyrocketed to fame with their debut album Songs About Jane, and hits like This Love and She Will Be Loved cemented their place in pop rock history. Levine's fame soared even further when he joined The Voice as a coach in 2011, making him a household name. But not all encounters with Levine have been positive. One fan took to Reddit to recount a shocking interaction when she asked for an autograph, only for Levine to allegedly reply, "I don't give autographs to ugly chicks." If true, it's a startlingly cruel response from someone whose career thrives on public adoration. Other fans have shared stories of Levine scoffing at or walking away from them when approached, showcasing a cocky, rude attitude that seems to match his playboy-esque image. It appears that Levine's success has inflated his ego, leaving him feeling above the average person and casual with his insults. Tobey Maguire, Hollywood's original Spider-Man, the face of early 2000s superhero nostalgia, and, if the stories are true, not exactly the friendly neighborhood type in real life. With his boyish charm and earnest Peter Parker persona, Maguire became a household name, but behind the mask? Let's just say the web he spun wasn't always so welcoming. Starting out as a child actor in the 80s, Maguire slowly climbed Hollywood's ranks with critically acclaimed roles in The Ice Storm and Pleasantville. Then Spider-Man hit in 2002, turning him into one of the biggest stars on the planet. But while Peter Parker was all about responsibility and humility, Maguire himself seemed less inclined to embrace those qualities. He was even voted worst celebrity autograph signer, with fans complaining about his cold, dismissive attitude. Then there's the infamous Molly's Game story. In her memoir, Molly Bloom, the high-stakes poker hostess, claimed Maguire once tried to humiliate her by demanding she bark like a seal for a $1,000 chip. When she refused, he mocked her, proving that, off-screen, his sense of humor had a bit more bite. For a guy who played one of cinema's most lovable underdogs, Maguire's real-life persona seems far less endearing. Ashton Kutcher, the face of the lovable and goofy Michael Kelso on That 70s Show, became a 2000s icon thanks to his charm, good looks, and roles in comedies like Dude, Where's My Car? His popularity soared during his high-profile marriage to Demi Moore, and his pranking antics on Punk'd kept him in the tabloid spotlight. But despite his seemingly easygoing nice guy persona behind the scenes, Kutcher's behavior has reportedly been far less friendly. Kutcher first rose to fame as the dim-witted yet lovable Kelso on That 70s Show, which ran from 1998 to 2006. He quickly transitioned to leading roles in comedy films, often playing variations of his sweet but clueless character. But actress and TV personality Sharon Osbourne claims Kutcher's nice guy act is just that, an act. She's called him the rudest celebrity she's ever met, recounting a 2008 interview where Kutcher's inexplicable, condescending attitude shocked her. According to Osbourne, he was hostile and dismissive from the start, leaving her unimpressed by the young star. It's often the stars with the most likable on-screen personas who surprise us with their real-life behavior. For Kutcher, his off-screen demeanor appears to be a far cry from the goofy, endearing character that made him famous. Sean Penn, Oscar-winning actor and outspoken activist, has built a career on intense, memorable performances in films like Mystic River and Milk. But for all his talent, Penn is also known for his notoriously hot temper, with a long history of violent outbursts directed at paparazzi, fans, and even average citizens. Penn's acting career began in the 1970s, but but it was in the 1980s with roles in films like Racing with the Moon, The Falcon and the Snowman, and at close range that he solidified his bad boy image. His high-profile relationships with Madonna and Robin Wright often overshadowed his acting, but his penchant for confrontation seemed to be a constant. One particularly infamous incident in 2013 involved Penn allegedly snatching a fan's cell phone and throwing it to the ground while yelling obscenities at them for trying to take his picture at a hotel. While no charges were filed, it highlighted how quickly Penn could fly off the handle over minor annoyances. Over the years, he has faced multiple arrests, from assaulting an extra on set to kicking a photographer. It seems that Penn's explosive temper has become nearly as famous as his acting chops. Mike Myers, the genius behind some of the most iconic comedic characters of recent decades, from Wayne Campbell in Wayne's World to Austin Powers and Shrek, has undoubtedly left a mark on pop culture. After honing his craft in the Toronto comedy scene, Myers skyrocketed to fame when he joined Saturday Night Live in 1989, quickly becoming a standout with sketches like Sprockets and his famous collaboration with Dana Carvey in Wayne's World. But behind the laughs, there are plenty of stories about Myers being a difficult person to work with. A notorious perfectionist, Myers reportedly makes extreme demands on set, which has earned him a reputation for being tough on colleagues. His co-star from The Cat in the Hat, Amy Hill, described filming with Myers as a horrible, nightmarish experience. Other crew members have shared tales of his diva-like behavior, including his personal assistant being tasked with ferrying him chocolate on set, and his general reluctance to interact with anyone outside his close inner circle. While Myers may be beloved for his iconic roles, his reported behavior on set paints a much less endearing picture of the comedy legend. It seems that even comedic icons have their dark side, especially when perfectionism takes center stage. William Frawley, forever remembered as the grouchy, wisecracking Fred Mertz on I Love Lucy, brought plenty of laughs to TV audiences. But behind the scenes, his real-life temper made Fred Mertz look like a sweetheart. A veteran of vaudeville and early Hollywood, Frawley spent the 1930s and 40s playing gruff side characters in over 100 films, including Miracle on 34th Street. But it was I Love Lucy, 1951, 1957, that cemented his legacy. His bickering chemistry with on-screen wife Ethel, played by Vivian Vance, was comedy gold, but off-camera, their relationship was pure friction. Vance reportedly despised Frawley, finding it ridiculous that she was paired with a man 22 years older. He, in turn, made no secret of his disdain for her. Frawley's reputation for being difficult extended beyond Vance. Known for his heavy drinking, he often showed up to set unprepared, rubbing co-stars the wrong way. Even Little Ricky actor Keith Thibodeau admitted nobody got along with Frawley. And in true tough guy fashion, he once punched actor Clifton Webb in the nose over a petty dispute. His on-screen crankiness wasn't much of an act. It was just who he was. Chevy Chase, breakout star of Saturday Night Live, and the mastermind behind iconic roles in comedy films like Caddyshack and National Lampoon's Vacation, was a defining figure of 1980s comedy. But behind his slapstick humor and famous smirk, Chase developed a reputation for being one of the most difficult and egotistical stars in Hollywood. Chase's career began on the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour and National Lampoon projects, but it was his role as the Weekend Update anchor on SNL that made him a household name. His pranks and impressions, especially his portrayal of President Ford, quickly earned him a following. However, as his fame grew, so did his prickly attitude. He left SNL after just one season to pursue a film career. And as his star rose, his behind-the-scenes behavior became more problematic. Chase was notorious for clashing with co-stars and directors, including reducing Community actress Ayette Nicole Brown to tears on set. He also has a mean streak when it comes to fans. At one comedy show, Chase slapped actor Rob Hubel, a self-proclaimed fan, hard across the face. He tried to pass it off as a joke, but it only came across as erratic and unhinged. Chase's smug on-screen persona seems to have been rooted in reality, as his behavior off-screen revealed a much less charming side to the comedic legend. Cher, 6 decades in the game, 100 million records sold, an Oscar, a Grammy, and a legendary attitude to match. She's not just a singer, actress, and fashion icon, she's a force of nature. But along with her undeniable talent comes a take-no-prisoners personality that has left plenty of people on the receiving end of her sharp tongue. From the moment she and Sonny Bono topped the charts with I Got You Babe, Cher made it clear she wasn't here to play nice. After their split, she carved out her own solo superstardom, delivering hits like Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves, and Believe. But her signature sass isn't just for lyrics. She's as blunt off stage as she is on it. Whether publicly calling Madonna a spoiled brat or telling David Letterman he's very smart and very funny when he's not being a complete, Cher has never shied away from saying exactly what's on her mind. Even fans aren't always spared. She's clapped back at them online, heckled tribute performers at events honoring her, and once told an audience, "I'm not going to say I don't deserve this, because I do." Probably more than anybody. And honestly, that's just Cher. She's admitted to being difficult, calling herself a perfectionist in a Reddit AMA. But that DGAF attitude is exactly why people love her. She's not just an icon, she's a living, breathing, unapologetic legend. Ellen DeGeneres was the feel-good queen of daytime TV. With her goofy dancing pranks and constant reminders to be kind to one another, she built an empire as Hollywood's most approachable, fun-loving celebrity. But when the cameras weren't rolling, the reality, according to former employees and guests, was far less warm and fuzzy. Before becoming a daytime juggernaut, DeGeneres made history as the first openly gay lead character on a sitcom, paving the way for LGBTQ+ representation in Hollywood. But it was the Ellen DeGeneres Show that made her a mainstream superstar. The show thrived on celebrity interviews, giveaways, and feel-good moments until a 2020 Twitter thread blew the illusion apart. Former employees and guests came forward with horror stories of toxic work conditions, bullying, and outright cruelty. Reports claimed Ellen herself could be dismissive and rude, allegedly berating a staffer for chipped nail polish and even complaining about having to interact with fans. Behind the scenes, the Queen of Nice was anything but, with accusations of intimidation and favoritism surfacing in an internal investigation. By 2022, the damage was done. Her once unshakable brand collapsed, and the Ellen DeGeneres Show came to an unceremonious end. For someone who built a career on kindness, the hypocrisy stung. Fans who once adored her couldn't ignore the contradiction. Ellen's signature sign-off, "Be kind to one another," now felt more like a punchline than a promise. Frank Sinatra, Old Blue Eyes, the voice of an era, and a man who could make a room melt with a song or freeze with a glare. With his velvety vocals and undeniable charisma, Sinatra defined cool, setting the gold standard for crooners. But behind the tucks and smooth melodies, a temper as legendary as his talent. Sinatra rose to fame in the 1940s, making teenage girls swoon with his dreamy ballads before evolving into a powerhouse solo artist in the 50s and 60s. Hits like Come Fly With Me and My Way made him an icon, and he even took home an Oscar for From Here to Eternity. But success didn't soften him. If anything, it sharpened his edges. Sinatra had a notorious mean streak, lashing out at anyone who crossed him, whether it was a journalist, a fellow star, or a random bartender who poured his drink wrong. He didn't just feud, he went scorched earth, once sending a funeral wreath to a magazine editor he disliked. And then there were the rumors, the mob connections, the womanizing, the ruthless need for loyalty. If Sinatra liked you, you were golden. If he didn't, you were done. Even his closest friends had to tread carefully, except Don Rickles, the rare comedian who could roast him and survive. Sinatra's world was one of elegance and romance, but step out of line and you'd see the other side, the one that made sure no one forgot who ran the show. Kanye West, musical genius, fashion mogul, and a walking controversy factory. Whether redefining hip-hop with The College Dropout, 808s and Heartbreak, and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, or making headlines for all the wrong reasons, Ye has never been one to blend in. But while his artistry is undeniable, his behavior, that's another story. From the moment he stormed the 2009 VMAs stage to interrupt Taylor Swift, because Beyoncé had one of the best videos of all time, it was clear that Kanye wasn't just playing by his own rules, he was making them up as he went. Over the years, his public outbursts have ranged from bizarre, declaring himself a god, to deeply problematic, suggesting slavery was a choice. His unpredictability makes him a nightmare interview subject, ready to hijack conversations with rants that leave even the most seasoned hosts scrambling. For years, fans and critics excused his behavior as the price of genius. But as his rhetoric turned more extreme, especially following a string of anti-Semitic remarks, his professional empire began to crumble. Longtime collaborators and brands distanced themselves, and the once unstoppable Ye found himself more isolated than ever. Where his brash antics were once seen as part of his creative brilliance, the public seems to have finally drawn a line. Christian Bale, method acting legend, Oscar winner, and a man whose intensity doesn't switch off when the cameras stop rolling. Known for transforming his body for roles, The Machinist, American Psycho, The Dark Knight trilogy, he's built a reputation as one of Hollywood's most committed actors. But while his performances are celebrated, his temper? That's another story. Bale's infamous rage exploded into public view in 2009 when audio leaked of him eviscerating a crew member on the set of Terminator Salvation. The profanity-laced tirade lasted several minutes, with Bale furiously berating the poor guy for walking into his light. And that wasn't the only instance of his fiery demeanor. His former publicist once claimed that Bale would lecture young fans, little girls, until they cried, scolding them for being rude and intrusive. Allegedly, he even fantasized about getting rid of overzealous admirers with a screwdriver to the eye. While that's likely exaggeration, it doesn't exactly scream approachable movie star. For someone who thrives on immersing himself in characters, Bale seems to have little patience for real-life interactions. He may be one of the greatest actors of his generation, but if you ever see him in public, maybe just admire from a very safe distance. Justin Bieber, arguably the biggest pop star in the world, rose to fame in his early teens with his fresh-faced looks and catchy hits. But his transition from boy wonder to adult superstar has been marred by scandal and rude behavior, leaving some fans disillusioned with the once beloved Canadian sensation. Bieber first gained attention through YouTube videos of him singing covers, which led to his 2009 debut EP My World at age 15. Soon, Bieber fever took over the world, fueled by his boyish charm and catchy songs like Baby and One Less Lonely Girl. He broke sales records and inspired an entire generation of young fans. However, as his fame grew, so did his brash behavior, which didn't match his innocent public image. There were several incidents that painted Bieber in an unflattering light, shouting at his fans to be quiet during a concert, allegedly spitting on them from his hotel balcony, and even being arrested in 2014 for DUI after a drag race. While he's worked on rehabilitating his image in recent years, apologizing for his past mistakes, his history of rudeness continues to taint his mega-stardom. Many fans still recall his treatment of them during the peak of Bieber fever, snubbing autograph requests and cursing at them, showing a shocking lack of gratitude. Will Smith, Hollywood's golden boy, box office king, and the face of family-friendly charm. From the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to blockbusters like Men in Black and Independence Day, Smith built an empire on charisma, talent, and an undeniable ability to light up the screen. But in one shocking moment at the 2022 Oscars, all of that came crashing down. The night should have been his crowning achievement, winning his first Oscar for King Richard. Instead, the world watched in stunned silence as Smith stormed the stage and slapped Chris Rock over a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's shaved head. "Keep my wife's name out your mouth," he bellowed, not once but twice, cementing the slap as one of the most surreal moments in live TV history. He won Best Actor minutes later, but the damage was done. In the fallout, Smith resigned from the Academy and was banned from the Oscars for a decade. Fans and industry insiders alike began re-evaluating his nice guy persona. Some claimed they had seen flashes of arrogance before, pointing to his self-aggrandizing memoir and his and Jada's tendency to overshare their private life. The carefully crafted image of Hollywood's most likable star had finally cracked, revealing a man who, for all his charm, might not be as in control as he always seemed.